Please take us back and tell us China's role in supporting Africa's liberation, especially, in Southern Africa, where, Mwalimu Nyerere was a key player.
Mwalimu believed that all countries that were still under colonialism had to be liberated, and they started a movement at the Organization of African Unity. They organized Oil Liberation Committee, led by the late Hashim Mbita here, and Mwalimu was chairman of the group, Frontline States, to help the countries or liberation movements in Southern Africa to liberate their countries. China was in the forefront of supporting that effort and that whole movement. How? Several ways. Militarily, they did, in a very modest way. They helped provide arms for the liberation committees, training, financial support, and the rest of it. They played a very key role, more than any other country, in the South African liberation.
What role did China have in promoting the economic development of African nations post-colonial era, immediately after?
It's important to emphasize that China's economic relationship with Tanzania and with Africa, in those days, even today, had no political ties. It's important to note that one. They did not give you assistance or any kind of help because they wanted to control you in any way. They simply wanted to help people. That's the principle. In agriculture, irrigation schemes, very many, Barari, Ruvu, and many others. In rice farms. It was basically agriculture. Tools, here, Ubungo, they gave us assistance in providing industry, factories to produce simple agricultural tools, hoes, spades, wheelbarrows, and the rest of it. And those were essential. So we had, for example, Friendship Textile Mill. It was built by China here.
What role does China have in Africa's political and economic relations, especially now with the FOCAC and the forum that is designed to connect Africa and China? What role does it play?
The forum is basically related to China's, is it one belt, one road? You see, let's move together, not militarily, but economically. And economically, of course, you go to other relationships, social, political, environmental. So it's a relationship that builds capacity for Tanzania and capacity for Africa to contribute in a special way to the economic growth and empowerment of Africa.
And what about infrastructure development? I mean, what role has China played in sort of developing Africa's infrastructure, Tanzania and other nations?
If you move around, you'll see they are on roads building, they are on bridges building, they are helping us with building airports everywhere. And most important thing, they are also busy training our people, our young people, to be engineers, good engineers, just as, and hard-working engineers, just as the Chinese are. And the Chinese believe that through infrastructure, then you connect.
And now let's talk about the modern world. Do you feel that China and Africa's relationship is still relevant in today's world? And perhaps going forward another 50 years, 100 years, is it still relevant?
It's very, very relevant. Let me tell you, Mwalimu believed strongly that humanity is one and indivisible. Chinese are people miles away from here. We are here, miles away from China. Africa is a neighbor technologically to China. Humanity needs to move together, to move together. And in moving together, like one humanity, indivisible humanity, and in Swahili Mwalimu says, binadamu wote ni ndugu zetu. All human beings, be they men or women, are sisters, brothers. You see, that's what we believe. Looks like, it's obvious to me, China shares that view. And I think together, if we move in that direction, we should be making a major contribution to persuading the rest of the world, especially those who work towards dividing the world, that there is need now, more than before, to come together. Our interdependence needs an international system of relationships like China is trying to develop with Africa.